Hi, I'm Chris Direwalt, and it's time for Power Play. So every year, every 4 years, we say that it's going to be about domestic issues. It's going to be about pocketbook issues. It's going to be kitchen table, right. And then we remember that the world is a large and dangerous place, and the president's #1 job relates to foreign policy, that is to say, protect us from being killed. And that is roiling the discussion and will continue to roil the discussion among Democrats as Hillary Clinton moves inexorably towards her nomination. How does she really feel about the president's foreign policy, et cetera, et cetera. But the battle has been joined for Republicans. John Ellis Bush and others are trying to outline their foreign policy position, which is doing a little Goldilocks, a little Bush, a little Rand Paul, but not too much, somewhere in between, just right. And definitely not what Obama's doing. People who will tell you now, I hope, how this will play out with real live mammals who vote are David Payne, Republican strategist, principal at Vox Global. You take principal?
Senior vice president.
Senior vice president. So not quite principal. Soon.
Gotta work my way there.
Few more Power Play appearances. Principal. Stephen Cobb is an attorney. He is a Democrat. He is a Virginian. Once worked for the Democratic Party of Virginia. Gentlemen, welcome. So let's start with you, David. Jeb Bush said, "I am not my brother and I am not my father." Then he brought his brother's foreign policy team on and said, but it's going to be different this time. And he said, it's not a forward strategy of freedom. It is peace through strength, but we do have to be involved. And he walked a tight rope. How did he do?
I think he did all right in his speech. Bringing on seasoned advisors who know these topics is not a bad move, even though they may have worked for an administration with controversial foreign policy.
Stephen Hadley? I mean, I'm not saying that the guys don't know their brief, but the point of releasing a list like that, and check me if I'm wrong, but the point of releasing a list like that is to say, not that these are the people who are actually advising you, because you can take advice from anybody, but the point of releasing a list like that is to say, this is the worldview, these are the views that I think are worthwhile, right?
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of laughable. I think he tripped over himself here. You can't on one day say, I am my own man, I'm going to do my own thing, and on the next day say, my foreign policy is going to be outlined by, out of 21 people, 19 of which worked for either my brother or my father.
Right.
That's not being your own man. And so I think if you enjoy the foreign policy of George W. Bush, you know what to expect from Jeb.
But of course, not to make your argument for you, but if Hillary Clinton, if Jeb Bush does get the Republican nomination, he would say to Hillary Clinton, and if you enjoy Barack Obama's foreign policy, you should keep its chief architect in the White House,
well,
right?
That's exactly right.
That'd be the debate.
If you want a president who presided over the destruction of an embassy, the death of an ambassador, and just the completely anemic responses to the march of ISIS in the Middle East.
And it has not been popular.
No,
but we got to get to the get. And the get is, inside this Republican primary, we know where Rand Paul is. Rand Paul is non-interventionist to his friends, isolationist to his enemies. But there's this whole other space now that Jeb Bush has staked out his territory, which is in keeping with the worldview of his brother and father, clearly. There's this other space for guys who don't have much fluency in foreign policy. What's the winning ticket? How do you get to the top of the heap on the Republican side?
I think we want to see candidates, Republican primary voters want to see candidates who will stand up for a stronger role in the world than we have seen under the Obama administration. Jeb Bush said today in his speech that this administration will draw a red line and then erase it. I think America likes red lines that we keep, we observe. Our enemies need to fear us, not dismiss us.
Oh, well, quite so. Now, but what do you? So, if you were put your Republican strategist hat on, if you were talking to Scott Walker, you're talking to Rick Perry, you're talking about the Republicans who are going to do this. What's the message? What do you say to get ahead of Jeb Bush?
Well, I think they're going to try and push each other further and further to the right on foreign policy.
But what does that mean?
I think it's going to be incredibly hawkish. I think it's going to be kind of that same George W. Bush go-it-alone mentality, and I think you're going to see a lot of that, what I would describe as cowboy rhetoric, kind of a shoot first, aim later.
But now wait a minute.
I disagree with that. I think it might be more of a focus on investment in the military.
Okay, but wait a minute. There's two George W. Bush foreign policies. There's a George W. Bush foreign policy that was in the first term, that was smoke them out, run them down, kill them, dead or alive. That was the gunslinging. And then there was the second Bush term, which was forward strategy of freedom, Condoleezza Rice, a lot more about nation building, a lot more about standing up civil society in the Arab and Muslim world. Those are two. That's going to complicate things, right?
Sure, but I mean, again, when we focus on the folks who are advising Jeb, these are the folks who are advising that, as you put it, the first part of that George W. Bush foreign policy.
Oh, they were around.
They were around, and so I think you're going to see a lot of that same sort of rhetoric. And when we talk about investing in the military and creating this strength, you're not going to hear a whole lot of specifics about what that means.
Well, they're running for president. Of course, there's not going to be a lot of specifics. Have you seen Barack Obama's 2008 campaign? Holy crocono. Gentlemen, we thank you for bringing specifics to us. We feel smarter. We thank you for being patriotic, good people. And you, Internet, we thank you for being a weird, wonderful place out there. And we thank you for stopping by to see us. We hope you come back for more Power Play real soon.